that as far as the domestic sector is concerned, as he had mentioned what I had stated in my answer, to protect the interests of the passengers as well as to ensure that there is competition and no predatory pricing, we had instituted this system of airfare caps. As far as the international sector is concerned, that is not something that is in our power to do. However, I am very confident that with the opening up of the international sector, as we have announced on the 27th of March, when the summer schedule comes in of all airlines, there will be enough of a supply of seats, both coming into India and going out of India. And therefore, I think the pricing issue is something that the market will certainly take into account by itself.
Second supplementary.
Shavaram, during the last 2 years of pandemic, thousands of employees from aviation sector have lost their jobs. Not only aviation sector, but ground handling employees also, the workers who work or come from the downtrodden society. They have also lost their jobs. And because of this, thousands of families, literally they are on road and they are pinning all hopes on the government. May I know from the Honorable Minister, is there any move? First of all, they should be, all those jobs who have been lost, they should be restored. And they are pinning hopes on the government. What exactly steps are being taken by the government to see that airlines, did they have talks with the airlines and made any attempt, or are they contemplating to have this kind of measure which would restore the jobs of the employees who have lost their jobs? Thank you.
Reply, please.
Madam, the member has rightly pointed out that the civil aviation sector should not be concentrated only necessarily on airlines and airports, but on the whole ecosystem. And the ecosystem, as the member has rightfully pointed out, includes ground handling, includes cargo, includes FTOs, flying training organizations, includes MROs. And as we have been seeing that this is a sector which has been affected very, very deeply on an economic front, globally. It is a sector which has been affected the most in terms of its economic output and in terms of its profitability. Having said that, it is also a sector which has bounced back with equal amount of growth as soon as COVID-1 wave and then COVID-2 wave and now COVID-3 wave have petered out. In the case of COVID-2, we had brought back this sector to 100% capacity on the 18th of October, and I am pleased to report to the House that pre-COVID, our maximum number of passengers in India per day were close to about 4 lakhs. And we reached a level of 3.83 lakh per day in the month of December. So we were very well on our way back to recovery, roughly about 5 or 6% off from pre-COVID levels. But then Omicron came along and we had wave 3. And again, I am pleased to report to the House today that as of yesterday's numbers, after going down to almost about 1,60,000 passengers a day in wave 3, from the pre-COVID level of 4 lakhs and post-COVID 2 level of 3.83 lakhs, we have yesterday reached the number of roughly about 3.8 lakh passengers per day. So we are looking at a resuscitance in the sector, and with that resuscitance, we are extremely hopeful that we will also see a rebound in terms of employment opportunities.
Dr. Shantanu Sen.
I would like to draw kind attention of all.
Louder.
Pardon?
Mike.
I would like to draw the kind attention of our learned minister to a ground reality that so far maintenance of COVID protocol at different airports is concerned. Passengers are being asked to show their COVID vaccination certificate at some airports. At some airports, they are being asked to show their COVID report of last 24 or 72 hours. And at some airports, they are being asked nothing. So there is a confusion amongst the general passengers. My request and my question before our learned minister is, why don't we bring an uniformity at all the airports of our country. Thank you very much.
Madam, through you, I'd like to apprise our learned member. It's a very important point that he has raised. As you're aware that these are decisions that are taken by two centers. One is the Health Ministry at the center, and secondly, the states. This is also a subject which is on the concurrent list, and therefore a diktat cannot be issued by us. An advisory can be issued, and then each state has its own power to decide what the rules need to be. As far as we are concerned, the Health Ministry at the center issued the advisory again on the 10th of February 2022, saying that either the passenger has two choices. Either you upload a COVID negative report from the past 72 hours onto the Air Suvidha portal, or you upload your double vaccination certificate onto the Air Suvidha portal, and that should suffice. Subject, of course, again, as I emphasize, to the state government protocols, because each state government must have that liberty to ensure what the rules should be for that particular state.
Shri G.K. Vasan.
That the Government of India has minimized or restricted flights due to the benefit of the passengers because of COVID-19. Good that it has given good results today. But now, sir, I would like to draw the attention of the respected Honorable Minister that it is time to reschedule flights again. For example,
Question,
my state,
please.
Tamil Nadu,
Vasanji,
coming to the
question.
point, ma'am.
You
For
have to be
example,
brief.
my state, Tamil Nadu, there are around 5 airports.
Vasanji,
Trichy
you
is a
will
very
have to be
important
brief
airport.
and
There
only
is
the
only one
question.
flight.
Vasanji, only the question.
There is
please.
only one flight in the morning and in the evening. Likewise, Madurai, Coimbatore, Thoothukudi, I request the Honorable Minister, rescheduling has to be done for the interest of the passengers after COVID-19 so that the economic position of the country definitely will improve because of the flight service.
I
This is the
request
need
all
of
the
our
members to be very, very precise so as to be able to accommodate maximum questions. Minister.
Madam, through you, I'd like to apprise the honourable member that certainly there is a great demand for greater connectivity across all major cities in India. I also do see in the near future civil aviation becoming the backbone of transportation across the country. And therefore, we also are looking at a high level of growth in this sector. The CAGR, the compounded annual growth rate of this sector pre-COVID, because obviously during COVID it went through the most difficult time in its history, is close to about 10.6% per year. However, as I mentioned, Madam, both the domestic sector, we have brought it back to 100% capacity on the 18th of October. Even through the third wave of COVID, we did not restrict capacity. So all airlines were free to operate at 100% capacity. And similarly, on the international sector, by the order issued last week, we have said that by the summer schedule, which starts on the 27th of March, international sector can also operate at 100% capacity. Now, it is for the free market to choose in terms of the routes, and it is our effort to make sure that we take greater connectivity, as you mentioned, Honourable Member, to Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, which is what we are endeavouring to do.
Shri Praful Patel.
Madam, the Honourable Minister is trying to see that all the flights are revived, and I've read his statements. At the end of the month, there will be no restriction and flights will go back to normal. I have only one important observation to make and maybe seek a response, is that the fuel prices, they have touched around $130. And we saw in 2008-9, when I was also that time in his position, the fuel prices had reached about $140, $145. And that caused a great deal of financial losses and hardship to all the airlines of India. Led to closure also subsequently of some airlines because those losses were very huge. Today the price of fuel around 130 and the rupee at 77 compared to 40, 45 then, would have, and 40% of 45% of operating costs being fuel. I think it is time that the minister, he's trying very hard to reduce tax on ATF, which is levied by the center and the states. I wish that he takes this issue up very seriously, because if the fuel prices continue for a longer period than what it is today, at these levels, it could cause massive losses to airlines and probably even closure of many an airline. I hope he is aware of it and was taking some concrete positive action in this regard.
Honourable Minister to respond.
Madam, I'd like to thank the member for bringing up this issue in the House. He is absolutely right that fuel consists of not 45% but close to 37% of the cost structure of an airline. And in a sector which is going through a very high level of hemorrhaging losses, close to about 19,000 crores last year due to COVID, that also becomes the proportion of the revenue structure. And so therefore, at high fuel prices, which, if I may just point out, in 2020, prior to COVID, ATF was close to at about 21,000 rupees per kiloliter, which is today at 93,000 rupees per kiloliter. So fuel price itself has gone up close to 4.5 times. And therefore, this is a very, very key issue for us. I would like to thank the member for giving me the opportunity. But as soon as I took over in the month of July, and I'd also like to point out that the states charge VAT on ATF ranging from close to about 10% to 30% on this levels of fuel. And therefore, I took it upon myself to pursue with the states, to plead with the states our case. The fact that we bring greater connectivity through airlines, the fact that we bring greater economic growth, and therefore, if you look at the Laffer curve example in economics, if you lower tax rates, you will actually increase buoyancy of revenues. And I'm very glad to report to this House that prior to my taking over, we had 11 states that charged VAT rates on ATF between 1 to 5%, and we had 25 states that charged VAT rates between 15 to 30%. That position today, and through you, Madam, I'd like to thank the Chief Ministers of all those states. We have reversed that equation. 12 states have reduced their level of VAT from 25 to 30% down to 1 to 4%. Passed cabinet meetings, issued gazette notifications, and today that equation has reversed. There are 23 states that charge VAT only between 1 to 4%, and only 11 states that charge. Madam, this needs a little bit of your time. I would like to take that liberty from you, because it's a very important point. Sure. And only 11 states that charge between 15 to 30%. This also calls about the confederacy of states, and I'd like to thank all the chief ministers of those states, large states like Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh, hill states like Himachal, Uttarakhand, Haryana, our island states like Andaman and Nicobar. Many, many states have done that, and I'd like to thank those administration of those states to you. Thank you, Madam.
Question 122. Mr. John Brittas.
22.
Madam, if I may just add one more thing. I'm pursuing with the state of Maharashtra as well. If you could use your good offices and help me, being the former civil aviation minister, I think that would go a long way.
Honourable Minister, this is not going on record. It's not going on record. It is not going on. 122.
Madam, the minister will certainly, former minister will
Kindly lay the answer on the table.
Madam, a statement is laid on the table of the House.
Thank you. Supplementary, please.
Madam, today the chair has been very liberal to everybody, and I do expect Madam also to be a little liberal to me, because this is my second maiden question.
Question, please.
Sir,
question, please.
Let me congratulate Hardeep Puri Sahab for his contribution to the election victory of the BJP, because he made it a point that the petroleum prices didn't go up during the election time.
Honourable member, question.
Sir, yes, sir. Yes, madam. Sir,
please direct your question.
Madam, see, from the answer, it has been revealed that there is a double engine looting that is happening. On the one hand,
Kindly ask the question. This is not a speech that you are
let me formulate, madam. Let me formulate, madam.
Only the question. Only the question, please.
Okay. In 2021, the government collected 3,72,970 crore in the form of cess and excise duty. I would like to know from the minister, will he stop the practice of bringing in cess and surcharge, which means that he can deny the rightful share of the state governments? And part B of my question is that since the government had the logic when they increased the tax.
Let that come as a second supplementary.
No, madam,
Minister.
this part B.
No, there is no part B. There is only one question. Honorable Minister to reply.
Madam, in the spirit of liberalism that my distinguished colleague has referred to, let me also, if you will give me just a minute or two to explain to him how this system functions. Madam, the price of petrol at the retail point or the bunk is determined by the international price, the cost of insurance and freight, the exchange rate, refining margins, and a number of factors. This particular issue on how much cess and tax has been collected has to be seen both in the context of the overall context in which we are operating. The period that he has mentioned, 2021, I should say that 2021 means 1st April of 21 to 31st March of 21. That is precisely the period during which there was a complete lockdown in the economy. That financial year starts on 1st April. The lockdown took place from 25th March, which meant that at that point of time, there was virtually no activity. Now, at that point of time, certain taxes were raised, and they were raised for a particular purpose. But the ultimate test of this is, what is the price at which petrol and petroleum products are supplied to the consumer? And I have a very interesting analysis.
Honorable Minister, please be brief so that the second question can
Well, I thought, Madam, if you were, I'm very happy to be brief, but let me also share with him some facts. The fact of the matter is, when the situation so warranted, from 4th November of 21, we brought down the excise on petrol and diesel by 5 rupees and 10 rupees. But I would have thought that the all elected representatives should be rejoicing at the fact that the price paid by the consumer has remained steady during that period. But I don't see that. In fact, one prominent youth leader made a statement on 5th March.
Honorable Minister, kindly reply to his answer. This is not a debate.
Well,
just a direct reply to his answer. Please.
I am answering.
Please reply the question.
I am very happy to answer the question,
reply
madam.
The question directly and keep it short.
The question is, raising of taxes, levying of taxes are done depending on the situation at that point of time.
Okay,
today we have brought down the taxes.
Supplementary number 2. There is teacher, if you are not satisfied with the answer, please follow that. Second supplementary.
Give me time. I will try with my limited ability to satisfy him.
This is a question. You have to be precise in your question and precise in the answer. Second
honorable member asked.
Second supplementary, please.
Madam, he is standing. He is standing. How can I ask question?
When the state collects, we brought down the central excise. 9 states still have not brought down the excise. We are willing to take such steps as are necessary to control the price at the bunk.
Honorable member, please ask your second supplementary.
Out of the tax collected, 45% or so goes to the state government, 55 or 60%. I would.
Honourable Minister, yes. Now second supplementary. Short question
Yes,
and
Madam.
as far as possible a short answer.
Madam, the Honorable Chairman has been very liberal. I don't know why you seems to be so stiff about. Madam, my second supplementary, though he hasn't answered my first supplementary, which
Second supplementary.
I really want the chair to protect the member, not the minister.
Question,
Here
please.
the other way is happening.
Question, please.
Sir, there have been a lot of reports about Russia offering discounts on the crude oil front. I would like to know whether there is any discussion that is happening between Government of India and Russia as to buy crude oil from Russia at a discounted rate. If so, what could be the facilities which you would be getting, and what could be the modus of payment? Will it be rupee, ruble, and what could be the reference point? Which currency would be the reference point?
Honourable Minister.
Madam, let me again reiterate that in a situation in which from the last 2 years characterized by the pandemic and in the last few weeks of a war or a military action taking place between Russia and the Ukraine, the government will explore all options which are available. There are reports and there are contacts. I myself have had a conversation with the appropriate levels of the Russian Federation. These are discussions currently underway. Several issues which will require both how much oil is available either in Russia or in new markets or in new suppliers which may be coming on the market, and issues relating to insurance, freight, and a host of other things, and the payment arrangements. I would be delighted, Madam, on the first opportunity, whenever these arrangements are worked out between our oil companies and their counterparts in the Russian Federation, or our oil companies in Iran or other countries where more oil is coming up. It's a dynamic, evolving situation characterized by military warfare, when I would be happy if some of that military quotient is less here and I could get a chance to explain to my distinguished colleague in greater detail.
Shri Shakti Singh Goel.
महोदय, मैं आपके माध्यम से ये जानना चाहता हूं कि यहाँ पे जो 3 साल का ब्रेकअप दिया है माननीय मंत्री जी ने, 2021 में कंपेयर टू 18-19 एंड 19-20 1.5 लाख करोड़ रुपया ज्यादा आपने वसूल किया है, 1.5 लाख करोड़। और उसके बाद आप 5 रुपया और 10 रुपया कम करने के बाद भी जो अप्रैल सितंबर का जो आपका ब्रेकअप दिखा रहा है, कोई फायदा नहीं है, टैक्स उतना ही आप ले रहे हो। मेरे आपसे यही जानना चाहता हूं आपके जरिए मंत्री जी से कि आप पेट्रोल में 10 रुपया और डीजल में 5 रुपया कम करते हो। डीजल वो किसान और आम आदमी के लिए बहुत अहम है, तो डीजल को पेट्रोल के साथ आपने दाम कर दिए हैं। डीजल आज तक कम ही रहता था जिससे किसान और आम आदमी को फायदा होता था, तो डीजल का शुल्क और कम करने के लिए सरकार तैयार है या नहीं?
ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर।
मैडम, मैं ऑनरेबल मेंबर को बताना चाहूंगा कि ये जो पेट्रोल और डीजल के दाम हैं 2010 में, पेट्रोल के जून 2010 में और अप्रैल शायद 2014 में उसके आसपास ये डीरेगुलेट कर दिए गए। डीरेगुलेशन का मतलब ये है कि ये जो दाम है, these will be determined by international prevailing prices. Administered price mechanism खत्म कर दिया गया था। क्यों कर दिया गया था, उसके क्या कारण थे, we can have a detailed discussion on that. आज स्थिति ये है मैडम कि हमने जब देखा कि कंज्यूमर को एकदम रिलीफ पहुंचाने की जरूरत है, तो माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने 4 नवंबर 2021 को ये दाम कम किए और हमने और भी कदम उठाए और हम और भी कदम उठाने के तैयार हैं।
His specific question, kindly answer specific question. Honorable Minister.
नहीं, देखिए डीजल का दाम और करना है कम, नहीं करना है, these are decision। देखिए टैक्स इज वन कंपोनेंट। डीजल का भी 10 करो, यही मेरा क्वेश्चन है। डीजल का तो किया है आप भाई, मैं समझाने, पेट्रोल का 5 किया और डीजल का 10 किया। अच्छा, दूसरा मैं बताना चाहूंगा राज्यों ने नहीं किया। जब मैं वो कहता हूं तो वो जो राज्य है वो लोग, उनको थोड़ी सी ये चीज चुभती है कि 9 स्टेट्स, महाराष्ट्र ने नहीं किया, केरला ने नहीं किया और स्टेट्स ने नहीं किया। देखिए, the taxation is only one aspect of it. At the end of the day, we have to provide relief to the consumer at the point of consumption, and a number of steps have been taken, and prices have not gone up. I would like to share some price data.
Kindly give a written reply to the member later, because we cannot have a debate. This is becoming a debate, sir.
It's not, madam, can I complete? This is crucial data.
Short answer, please.
I have the comparative data for USA, Canada, Germany, UK, France, Spain, Sri Lanka and India. All those countries, the price of petrol during this representative period has gone up by 50%, 55%, 58%, 55%. India, it has only gone up by 5%. We should be rejoicing that. Instead, what we are hearing from the distinguished members is, why has it not gone up? You have done it.
Kindly, Honorable Minister, kindly give a detailed reply later to the member. I think that would suffice. Shri GVL Narasimha Rao.
I'd like to thank Honorable Prime Minister and Honorable Minister for reducing the excise duty by 5 and 10 on petrol and diesel. But many states have not reduced VAT. And the highest prices of petrol are today and diesel are in Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Telangana and Kerala. These are the 4 states where the highest prices are there for petrol, diesel. And I hope they are equally.
Question, please.
I know this is a fact. And therefore, I would like to ask the Honorable Minister.
Honorable Member, please.
When states.
Question, please.
Yeah, my question is, these states have not been sensitive, because Honorable Member's question was the growing demand for lowering prices. Such a demand exists in Kerala also. And I would like to ask the Honorable Minister whether he would take up this issue with the concerned state governments and request them to reduce VAT so that the people can get relief.
Honorable Minister.
I would like to assure the Honorable Member that we have not only done that in the past, but I would be happy to continue that effort to use whatever limited margin of persuasion we have with the state governments to request them also to reduce the VAT charged by them. In some of the cases, the VAT is exceptionally high, and especially when the price is high. But I still see that one point which is being mixed, that the price at the bunk has not gone up. In India, it's gone up by 5%. Rest of the world, it has gone up by 50%. We should be celebrating that in the interest of our consumer, rather than doing nitpicking that you have done this and I have done that.
Shri Anand Sharma. Shri Anand Sharma ji.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to ask the Honourable Minister, since the petroleum prices are a matter of national concern, and earlier in the previous question, the Minister of Civil Aviation was also referring to the high aviation fuel prices. It's a larger spiraling effect on the economy. When the GST was introduced, in principle it was agreed, when the government and the opposition talked, and the then Finance Minister, late Shri Arun Jaitley ji, that the petrol products eventually would be brought under the GST. Has any progress been made by the government in the GST Council, and what is the response of the states? Will the Honourable Minister speak to the Finance Minister and try to have this matter resolved?
Honourable Minister to reply.
I can quote the specific article under which this has to be done. I think there have been several discussions. My own memory serves me right, and I believe also that the Kerala High Court at one stage specifically suggested that this be brought on the agenda of the GST Council. And since this requires the unanimity of the GST Council, the issue was, I think, taken up during a meeting of the GST Council, if I remember correctly, in Lucknow. And the proposal did not find favor. Sir, Madam, the honest God's truth is that states which are acquiring high revenue from the sale of petrol and petroleum products, and if I may also add liquor, they are normally reluctant to reduce their revenue from these two sources.
and I'm particularly pained in one particular state, which I don't want to name here. They did not reduce the VAT on petrol, but they reduced all their revenue on liquor. So, well, these are priorities which state governments have to set for themselves, and these are also part of the philosophy on what you wish to encourage. But I am, with a sense of responsibility, I tell this House, the government has ensured, and the government will in the coming months also take whatever measures we have to make sure that our consumer gets relief to the extent we can. Now the price of oil has gone up from $19.56 a barrel to 130 at one stage. Today it's down to 109 or so. Those are situations emanating from a warlike situation. But within that, whatever space we have, wiggle space and margin of persuasion, we should continue to exercise that in the interest of the Indian citizen and the consumer.
The same nature, and therefore they will be taken up together. Charge. Serial number 123.
मेरा है sir.
Minister, to lay the answer on the table.
Madam, statements both in respect of 123 and 125 have been laid on the table of the House.
Charge.
माननीय उपसभापति महोदय, मैं आपके माध्यम से मंत्री जी से जानना चाहती हूँ। वैसे तो कहते हैं कि पेट्रोल और डीजल स्वतंत्र नियामक है, लेकिन मेरा ये मानना है कि इसमें सरकार अवैध तरीके से कब्जा करके बैठी है। इनकी जब मर्जी होती है तब उसके दाम बढ़ा देते हैं, और जब चुनाव आता है तो दाम को स्थिर रखते हैं। पिछले कांग्रेस की सरकार के समय में 100 रुपए अमेरिकी डॉलर प्रति बैरल की जब कीमत थी, तब कच्चे माल की कीमत थी, तब 73 रुपए के आसपास 1 लीटर डीजल पेट्रोल की कीमत थी। और जब कोरोना काल लॉकडाउन लगा, उस समय अमेरिकी डॉलर 0 हो गया था, तब भी पेट्रोल के और डीजल की कीमत में कोई कमी नहीं आई। मतलब इनके पेट्रोल और डीजल पे इनका अवैध तरीके से कब्जा किया हुआ है। माननीय उपसभापति महोदय, मेरा प्रश्न ये है कि कोरोना काल के समय ये कहा गया था कि पेट्रोल की कंपनियां धनराशि सरकार को देगी जिससे कोरोना का वैक्सीन लगेगा। तो मैं ये जानना चाहती हूँ कि कोरोना काल में कितना धनराशि पेट्रोल कंपनियों से आया जिससे वैक्सीन लोगों को लगाया गया, जबकि बजट में 35,000 करोड़ की राशि वैक्सीन के लिए निर्धारित किया गया था। ये माननीय मंत्री जी स्पष्ट करें।
मैडम, आपके माध्यम से मैं ऑनरेबल मेंबर को बताना चाहूंगा कि सरकार का कोई इस प्रोसेस पे कब्जा नहीं है। अगर कब्जे की बात होती है, जब एडमिनिस्ट्रेड प्राइस मैकेनिज्म था 2010 तक, जून 2010 तक पेट्रोल पे, जब डीरेगुलेशन हुई, डीरेगुलेशन के बाद द प्राइस इज डिटरमिन्ड बाय द इंटरनेशनल प्राइस ऑफ क्रूड, द prevailing insurance and freight rates, refining margins, dealer commission and the exchange rate. इसलिए इसमें सरकार का कोई कब्जे की बात नहीं है। Oil marketing companies in a situation of a deregulated process, they take the decisions. अब कभी ऐसा होता है कि कुछ पीरियड में उनकी जो रिकवरी है इससे वो बढ़ जाती है, और कुछ समय होता है, जैसे मुझे लगता है आजकल है, वो अंडर रिकवरी हो जाती है। इसमें ये मार्केटिंग डिसीजन उनको लेने चाहिए। जहां तक चुनाव के साथ ताल्लुकात है, मैं आपको बड़े स्पष्ट तरीके से बताना चाहूंगा, और आपको तो इसके बारे में ज्यादा जानकारी होती है। हमारे यहाँ तो 5 साल चुनाव तो होते रहते हैं। अभी 5 स्टेट्स में हुए चुनाव, आपको उसके बारे में जानकारी है। अभी और 5 स्टेट्स में आने जा रहे हैं, शायद अक्टूबर से वो भी होंगे। तो अगर किसी मार्केटिंग कंपनी ने जो निर्णय मार्केटिंग का लेना, वो तो लेंगे। हम क्या कर सकते हैं? हम ये कर सकते हैं कि जब हमें लगे इस पे इन्फ्लेशनरी वो है, हमने दाम कम किया। 4 नवंबर 2021 में हमने अपने कुछ स्ट्रेटेजिक पेट्रोलियम रिजर्व से और देशों के साथ मिलके कुछ हमने क्वांटिटी भी रिलीज की, शायद नवंबर 2021। हम और भी कदम उठाएंगे, पर इन दो चीजों को जोड़ना बिल्कुल सही नहीं होगा। ऐसे तो चुनाव, जैसे मैंने कहा, अभी 5 चुनाव खत्म हुए, दूसरे चुनाव शुरू हो जाएंगे, पर ऑयल मार्केटिंग कंपनीज को निर्णय लेने पड़े। अगर मान लीजिए, मैडम, एज आई सेड, द प्राइस वाज $19.56 ऑन 25th March 2020, went up to 130, it's down to 109. Oil marketing companies will take that decision
speakers.
There will be other, they will proceed, once they can no longer bear the, if they don't have the margin or the cushion, they will take the appropriate steps. Now, as far as we are concerned, we are doing a number of other steps. One, we are doing more ethanol blending. We have brought it, which was 1.4% in 2014. We brought it to 10%. We are doing other things. Honorable member ने ये भी पूछा कि वैक्सीन और रेवेन्यू खर्चा. तो आज मुझे शायद उम्मीद थी कि ऐसा प्रश्न पूछा जाएगा. तो आज हमने शायद 1.8 करोड़ वैक्सीन डोजेज एडमिनिस्टर किए हैं और इस पे 35,000 करोड़ का खर्चा हुआ है. तो उसके दौरान, महामारी के दौरान सिर्फ वैक्सीन पे खर्चा 35,000 करोड़ ही नहीं, लोगों को 80 करोड़ से अधिक हमारे नागरिकों को दिन का 3 समय का खाना, और एक स्कीम जो मार्च तक चल रही है, हमारे उज्ज्वला सिलेंडर्स. तो मैं अनेक ऐसी लिस्टें हैं जो महामारी के दौरान हमें करना पड़ा और मुझे लगता है कि माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने यह निर्णय लिए. कोई भी सरकार होती, अगर उनको, if they are sensitive to the requirements of the people, these are steps that you have to do when economic activity comes down. And I am grateful to the Honorable Prime Minister, and so is the nation, as has been witnessed in the events of the last few days.
Second supplementary, Chair ji. K.C. Venugopal ji.
Whatever may be the reason, despite the rise in crude oil price, the price of petrol and diesel has not been increased since November. Whatever may be the reason, it is comparing to the period of January 31, 2021, January 1, 2021 and to July 9, 2021, you have increased 63 times the price of petrol and 61 times the price of diesel. Anyway, since November, we are very much relieved because the government is not increasing the prices even though crude oil prices are high. The country needs an answer from the minister whether the relief is going to continue or not.
Madam, decisions regarding increase and those 63 occasions, I would like to remind the honourable member, some were increased and some were decreased. On 5th March, a political leader made a statement that fill up your tanks quickly because petrol prices are going to go up because the election is over. And the consumption went up by 20%. It is a matter of shame that one statement led to hoarding of 20%. I think we should be conscious of that. I'm very happy to name the person.
Honourable Minister, kindly avoid any controversy and please be specific.
No,
answer
we are talking about
please
prices.
Avoid controversy and be specific.
It's an amazing situation. I'm not yielding. Please sit down. I find it amazing.
Please give us specific answer.
I will give a specific answer. Instead of celebrating that prices have not gone up, my honourable friend is lamenting that they have not gone up. And another one makes a statement and hoarding takes place for 20% after that. So what is it? Should we be controlling prices or should we be making statements to encourage hoarding?
Second
this is the issue.
पूछते हैं उसका रिप्लाई आप देना चाहिए. वो छोड़ के किसी ने ये कहा आपका प्रारंभ कर लो, किसी ने वो ये रिप्लाई नहीं है. स्टेट पूछ रहे हैं कि ये प्राइसेस क्यों बढ़े, क्या ये प्राइसेस अब है, ये कंटिन्यू रहेगा क्या नहीं, ये क्वेश्चन मैंने किसी नौजवान ने ये किया वो किया.
Next supplementary question, K.C. Venugopal ji.
Madam,
sit down and
Madam, I am happy.
We will have the honourable member ask the second supplementary.
Madam, I am happy. Madam, I am happy. The honourable minister is trying to
asking the question.
appease his bosses using this platform of question hour. I am happy to know that. But the question is, the government is looting the country by imposing taxes on petrol and diesel. Whenever the question of the common people is coming, you are diverting the issue. Whether the government is going to stop this loot.
Let me answer this. Who is looting the country? 97% of their candidates lost their deposits. That is what the country's answer to this is. 97% of their candidates lost their deposits. That is the answer.
I'm calling out.
No, and now also, this is their answer.
Shri Binoy Vishwamji. I'm calling the next member, Shri Binoy Vishwamji. K.C. Venugopalji. Honorable member, please no controversial statements here. Shri Binoy Vishwamji. Mr. Britas. Mr. John Britas. Mr. John Britas, kindly don't disturb the house. Shri Binoy Vishwamji, please. Please maintain order. Mr. Vishwamji is asking the question. Please be seated, Mr. Binoy Vishwamji. Nothing is going on record. Binoy Vishwamji.
Thank you, madam. Sir, not to have any controversy.
Please, Binoy Vishwamji.
Sir, the honorable minister. Sir, the minister from his foreign
check the records.
ministers also.
Mr. Binoy Vishwamji, only what you say is going on record. Please ask the question. John Britashi, please say. We will see that. Please, Binoy Vishwamji. Please, let the honorable member ask the question. Yes, Binoy Vishwamji, only what you say is going on record. Please ask the question quickly.
Yes, sir, my question is that, sir, those benches are creating problems here, not we
Please
people.
ask the question. Please ask the question.
The honorable minister, being from the background of foreign service, is well aware of the country called Venezuela. From that country, we used to import oil. In 2020, we imported from Venezuela 371,000 barrels of crude oil. And that country is still there. They still have the resources.
Question,
please. I asked the government
question,
why that import was stopped and whether the government has a plan to restart that.
Short and crisp answer, please.
Short and crisp, since a reference was made to looting, I would remind you that oil bonds were released, oil bonds were floated.
He has not raised that question.
The previous, let me continue.
No, we are only
floated for
concerned with Binoy
1,40,000 crores, on which we have had to pay 3,20,000 crores.
We are concerned with only Binoy Vishwamji's question.
2G, coal scam, CWC, I don't want to get into who's looting whom. But on Venezuela, I would like to...
Honorable Minister, please don't create controversy. Come to the answer directly.
I am answering through you, madam. Venezuela is a country which was an oil supplier where the oil...
All other members, please sit down. All other members, please sit down.
Madam, Venezuela is a country which was subjected to sanctions by another country. It is our hope and expectation that the oil, not only from Venezuela but other countries under sanction, will become available, and that apart from the oil which will become available by countries who are not supplying on account of sanction, existing OPEC Plus will also increase their production, and I am hopeful that we will all use collectively our margin of persuasion, including the honorable members, to request the international community to make more oil available, including from the country that the honorable member has named, Venezuela. As soon as that oil comes into the market, oil companies will enter into agreements. Equally, Iran is another country which, on account of a particular deal with the United States, I think it's a nuclear issue. There are reports in the public domain that issue is also likely to be resolved. That will also bring more oil into the market. As far as the government of India and the oil companies are concerned, we are not floating any oil bonds, madam, and passing the generation up. We will take all the other steps. We are not indulging in any of those other things which are culture of impunity, which I mentioned, 2G, CWC, etc. We will take all legitimate steps to try and maintain the price of oil at the bunk at a reasonable level. Thank you, madam.
Shri Mohammad Abdullah ji. है क्या? Yeah.
Number 124,
You're 123 or 125?
124.
No, Ashok, then later.
Yeah.
Dr. Ashok Vajpayee ji.
माननीय उपसभापति महोदय, आपके माध्यम से मैं माननीय मंत्री जी से जानना चाहूँगा, देश में पेट्रोलियम प्रोडक्ट के मूल्यों में एक रूपता लाने के लिए क्या देश में पेट्रोलियम प्रोडक्ट को जीएसटी की परिधि के अंदर लाने पर सरकार विचार करेगी और इसके लिए प्रयास करेगी, जिससे कि निरंतर जो राज्य सरकारें अपने संसाधनों को बढ़ाने के लिए पेट्रोलियम प्रोडक्ट पर टैक्स अपने मन से लगा लेती हैं।
Thank you for the short and crisp question.
And I will also
short
try and short, as I said in response to an earlier question, that the issue of taking it before the GST and having GST coverage on this will depend in equal measure on the state governments. And as I said, we tried once on an earlier occasion, and we did not find the response that was required in order to have GST coverage on this.
Shri Vijay Sai Reddy.
Thank you, Madam. Any tax that is levied by the central... Madam, Mike.
Yes, it's on.
Any tax that is levied by the central government is shared with the states, and any cess and surcharge that is levied will not be shared with the states.
Exactly, that is the point I asked.
Can parameters, these taxes and cess on petroleum products is decided by the central government, and how frequently these the taxes and cess are reviewed and revised by the central government. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm very happy my learned friend has asked this question. The precise formula, I think, would lie in the domain of the Honorable Finance Minister and the Finance Ministry bureaucracy, but I can share some facts with him. The total contribution of the petroleum sector to the exchequer for the years 2018-19 down to 2021 and April to September 21-22, the central exchequer and the state exchequer, I'll tell you. In 18-19, 5,75,632 crores, 60% centered, 40% went to the states. Similarly, the figure is 60%, 60%, 68%, then comes out 62%, 38%. It's not as if the taxes are only being levied by the center. Center legitimately levies taxes, excise, then uses them for Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, COVID, Shauchalaya, Ujjwala number. States also levy taxes, and I said the percentage is as high as 40% in most of the time. The formula which is used, I would be very happy to sit with my distinguished colleague and also learn from the Finance Ministry myself what is the precise manner in which central levies and state levies, how the sharing takes place.
Thank you. Question 124. Shri Narayan Das Gupta.
24.
Supplementary.
मैडम धन्यवाद। मैं जानना चाहूँगा कि एक समस्या देश में कि कई इलाकों में सूखा पड़ता है, कई जगह बहुत बारिश होती है, और जो बारिश का पानी है उसमें फ्लड की सिचुएशन बन जाती है। तो क्या इन दोनों को हम बैलेंस से कहीं करने का प्रयास कर रही है सरकार कि जहाँ सूखा पड़ रहा है, जहाँ पानी वेस्ट होता है? एक जो सरकार की प्रधानमंत्री की भी और ये नदियों को जोड़ने का भी एक प्रोजेक्ट चल रहा है, उसकी आज क्या पोजीशन है? और दूसरा, जो बारिश में पानी इतना है और बहुत अधिक मात्रा में हो रहा है और आने वाले समय में और भी होगा, उसकी हार्वेस्टिंग, वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग की, ताकि वाटर लेवल जो है बराबर बढ़े और पानी की समस्या से हमें जो कहीं न कहीं निदान मिले, उसके विषय में मैं मंत्री से जानना चाहूँगा कि हमारी क्या आज की पोजीशन में स्टेटस है। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद सभापति महोदय। मुझे लगता है कि पानी पे पूछा गया प्रश्न सदन में पैदा हुई गर्मी को कुछ कम करने में सहायक हो। माननीय सभापति महोदय, मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं माननीय सदस्य का कि उन्होंने बहुत महत्वपूर्ण विषय पर प्रकाश डाला है प्रश्न पूछ करके। निश्चित ही सत्य है कि देश में विभिन्न भौगोलिक परिस्थितियों के चलते देश के लगभग 18% हिस्से में हर साल बाढ़ का प्रकोप होता है, लगभग 13-14% हिस्से में हर साल सूखा ऐसा आता है। क्लाइमेट चेंज के इम्पैक्ट्स के कारण से इनकी फ्रीक्वेंसी और इरेटिक और स्कैंटी रेनफॉल्स के कारण से, इस रेनफॉल पैटर्न्स में चेंजेस के कारण से इसमें निश्चित रूप से इजाफा हुआ है। माननीय अटल जी के समय ये सपना देखा गया था कि देश में आइडियली ये हो कि जहां डेफिसिट बेसिन में सरप्लस बेसिन से पानी ट्रांसफर किया जा सके, और उस समय माननीय सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने भी निर्देश दिया था। उसके आधार पर एक कमेटी बनी थी आदरणीय सुरेश प्रभु जी के नेतृत्व में, जिसने अपनी रिपोर्ट प्रस्तुत की थी, लेकिन दुर्भाग्य से उस समय सरकार परिवर्तन हो जाने के कारण से 10 साल तक उस विषय पे आगे कोई काम नहीं हो पाया। लेकिन उसके पश्चात 2014 में आदरणीय नरेंद्र मोदी जी के प्रधानमंत्री बनने के बाद में फिर उसमें तेज गति से हमने काम करना प्रारंभ किया। 31 ऐसे लिंक हमने आइडेंटिफाई किए हैं जहां सरप्लस बेसिन से डेफिसिट बेसिन में पानी ट्रांसफर करके इन समस्याओं का स्थायी समाधान किया जा सकता है। उनमें से अधिकांश की प्री फिजिबिलिटी रिपोर्ट भी बनी, लगभग जो है 11-12 की उनमें डिटेल प्रोजेक्ट रिपोर्ट भी बन चुकी है। लेकिन उसमें से क्योंकि जल राज्यों का विषय है, राज्यों को आपस में समझौता करना है, मैं अत्यंत प्रसन्नता के साथ में कह सकता हूं और आपके माध्यम से सदन को और देश को इसके बारे में बधाई दे सकता हूं। और यहाँ इस मंच पर, इस पटल पर खड़े होकर के मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं उत्तर प्रदेश के माननीय मुख्यमंत्री का और मध्य प्रदेश के मुख्यमंत्री जी का, कि उन दोनों ने केन और बेतवा नदियों को जोड़ने का समझौता करके एक नए युग का सूत्रपात इस देश में किया है। वेरी गुड। और इस बजट में 4400 करोड़ रुपए की इस परियोजनाओं को बजट में भी जो है स्वीकृति प्रदान की गई है। और मैं ये मानता हूं कि इसके कारण से बुंदेलखंड में जिस तरह से परिवर्तन होगा, उससे प्रेरणा लेकर के अन्य राज्य भी इस दिशा में काम करेंगे। जहां तक माननीय सदस्य ने दूसरा प्रश्न पूछा है कि रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग, माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने 2019 से लगातार इस विषय पर चर्चा की है। हमने जल शक्ति अभियान के माध्यम से, हमने अटल भूजल योजना के माध्यम से, और विभिन्न जो है 15वें वित्त आयोग में जो कुल एलोकेशन है उसका 30% एलोकेशन पानी से जुड़े हुए विषयों पर करके, नरेगा में 65% ऑफ टोटल एलोकेशन नेचुरल रिसोर्स मैनेजमेंट पर करने के लिए टाइड अप करके इस बारे में इस तरह का वायुमंडल बनाने की कोशिश की। और मैं ये मानता हूं कि आज पूरे देश भर में इसको लेकर के एक नया जो है सोच डेवलप हुई है। लोग रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग पर लोगों ने काम करना शुरू किया है। अनेक प्रदेशों ने भी इसमें बहुत उल्लेखनीय प्रगति की है।
सेकंड सप्लीमेंट्री, श्री प्रसन्न आचार्य जी।
Madam, groundwater has been one of the important source of water for irrigation and drinking purpose also. But surprisingly, as per the CGWB survey report, it indicates that about 30% of the wells monitored, that has been monitored, have registered a decline in groundwater level in different part of the country. So, and secondly, Madam, in the mining sector and industries, they are also exploiting groundwater without any restriction. So this is posing a great danger. So I would like to know from the Honorable Minister, what steps are being taken, or has the government taken any step by making regulation or law to put a restriction in excessive use of groundwater in the mining sector, in the industries, and even for other uses?
Honorable Minister.
माननीय सदस्य ने प्रश्न किया है। निश्चित रूप से भारत में दुनिया का सबसे ज्यादा भूगर्भ से जल निकालने वाला देश है और हमारी आवश्यकता की आपूर्ति का लगभग 65% हिस्सा हम भूगर्भ के जल से लेते हैं। पेयजल का लगभग 85% हिस्सा भूगर्भ के जल से आता है और उसके कारण से हमारे भूगर्भ जल स्रोतों पर दबाव भी है। 30% ब्लॉक्स की चर्चा माननीय सदस्य ने कही है। मैं लगता हूं कि मुझे लगता है कि शायद उसके समझने में थोड़ा तकनीकी विषय होने के कारण से कुछ जो है वो फर्क हो सकता है। मैं माननीय सदस्य को आग्रह करूंगा, कभी मुझे अवसर देंगे, मैं इनके साथ बैठ करके और विस्तार से इन्हें एक्सप्लेन करूंगा कि ये जो 30% ओवर एक्सप्लॉयटेड, क्रिटिकल एक्सप्लॉयटेड है, इनके जो है बेंचमार्क्स क्या हैं। जहाँ तक जो है ओवर एक्सप्लॉयटेशन से रोकने के लिए माइनिंग या इंडस्ट्री को या कॉमर्शियल यूसेस को जो है उसको रेगुलेट करने का विषय हमने ऑलरेडी उसका रेगुलराइजेशन के लिए जो है नॉर्म्स बनाए हैं और उसके ऊपर हम बहुत स्ट्रिक्टली जो है उसके ऊपर काम कर रहे हैं। हमने टेलीस्कोपिक प्राइसेस मैकेनिज्म उसमें दिया है। जितना ज़्यादा पानी जितने ज़्यादा क्रिटिकल जोन में जो ड्रॉ करेगा उसको उसी के अनुरूप जो है सेस अदा करना पड़ेगा और जो पैसा आएगा उसको उस क्षेत्र में वापस ग्राउंड वाटर रिचार्ज के लिए उपयोग हो सके, इसे सुनिश्चित।
श्री कामाख्य प्रसाद ताशा।
तो राज्यसभा से ये प्रश्नकाल का सीधा प्रसारण हम आपको दिखा रहे थे। आपको बता दें कि जल शक्ति मंत्री गजेंद्र सिंह शेखावत जो जल संकट हमारे देश में है उसको लेकर तमाम अपनी बातें रख रहे थे। जो सवाल पूछे जा रहे हैं उसका उन्होंने वहां पर जवाब दिया। उससे पहले केंद्रीय मंत्री हरदीप सिंह पुरी ने जो तेलों को लेकर जिस तरह से जो उनके दाम बढ़ रहे हैं उसको लेकर उन्होंने अपनी बातें रखी हैं। जो तमाम तरह के सवाल पूछे गए हैं उस पर उन्होंने बेबाकी से उन्होंने अपनी बात रखी और साफ तौर पर उन्होंने कहा है कि जो तेल है वो तेल कंपनियां वही कीमत